I'm with John Carlock, and he's in Gaza at the moment, and you're at a school. John, what is the school that you're at?
The name of the school here is the Lighthouse School, and we are working with kindergarten children and elementary age children in the Zaytun neighborhood of Gaza City.
And how was the school started?
School started back in 2004. We started with first, second, and third grade. Back 2005 was our first year. And we've grown since then, a grade each year, and we added a kindergarten school the second year.
What kind of kids do you work with there in Gaza?
The school was established to primarily reach the poorer families, needy families in the Zaytun neighborhood. We're in a very old part of the city. There's a lot of needs here in our particular neighborhood, and so we're working primarily with families who can afford a private school and who are in need of assistance in terms of their education and their basic needs, and those are the children we're primarily reaching.
What needs do the children have there in Gaza?
Well, a lot of the fathers are unemployed. They used to work, many of our parents, our fathers used to work in Israel when the borders were open, and since the borders closed 5 or 6 years ago, they have no work. So basic needs, food, clothing, obviously if a parent is not working, they don't have the financial means to pay the expenses that they have. So we help the families with food. We help primarily with tuition assistance through a sponsorship program.
Now we know there's conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis. How many of the children have been close to the conflict?
I'd have to say all of our children have been close to the conflict because Gaza is such a small area, and most of our kids come from the Zaytun neighborhood, and it was a lot of activity, a lot of violence took place in Zaytun when Israel came in 2 years ago, and a number of our families were directly affected by bombings and houses destroyed and losing family members. So I would say all of our kids have been affected by the violence.
Does the conflict affect them behavior-wise?
Yeah, it does. It's certainly for a child to be able to deal with the type of violence that they've seen here in Gaza, in addition to the poverty, in addition to the instability and everything else. There's so many issues that a child here has to deal with. And there's probably post-traumatic stress is something that every child in the school deals with. We try to train our staff in how to recognize and meet the emotional needs of the children, behavior problems that come up, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, those type of issues.
Is there good education in the schools in Gaza, and are you bridging the gap?
Yeah, there is good education. There's the options for children in our area are the government school, the UN schools if they're a refugee family. Most of our students couldn't afford a private school education, so those are their two options. And unfortunately, because of the population in Gaza and because it's such a small territory, there's just not enough schools for the number of kids there are in Gaza. So a lot of the schools, especially the UN and government schools, they run in shifts, and the kids go for 3.5 hours a day. They go home and another shift comes in. In terms of funding and what's available, you have 50 kids in the class, and maybe you don't have the resources needed to teach those kids in the class. So the education is there, it's under a lot of stress because of the number of students and the lack of time given to properly educate them. So what we try to do is we try to take children that are particularly vulnerable, that are falling through the cracks, that aren't succeeding in the public school education system or in the UN schools, and we bring them into a private school environment where we only have 24 kids in the class. We give them a lot of attention, we give them a lot of love, caring, affection, outside activities, and just a healthy environment, and we see these kids start to excel and learn and do very well.
Why do you do what you do in Gaza?
Well, we came to Gaza in 2004, and we really felt like God had called us here. We saw there's certainly a need in Gaza for education, and many children in Gaza don't have a chance. They have no opportunity. They just don't have the options. They come from poor families, and they don't have the opportunity for good education. And the future of a Palestinian state and a strong population and community and economics and everything is going to be dependent upon these kids getting a good education. And if you have much of the population growing up and you can't read and write, then you don't really have a future for a strong Palestinian state. So our heart was to provide these children a healthy and a safe environment where they could come and learn. They would know that they're loved. Some of the things that are happening in other schools, we don't hit the children, we don't beat the children, we encourage the children, we use words that are uplifting and building them up. And these kids, in their environment, whether it's in their home or in the schools or on the street, there's just a lot of violence, there's a lot of negative talk, and so we try to bring them into an atmosphere where it's very healthy. They can learn, they can grow, they know they're valued, they know they're worth something, that God has a plan for their lives, and that they can succeed, that they actually have the ability to succeed. We encourage them in that. Yeah, we're trying to give these children an opportunity for a good quality education so that they feel like they have a future. And we try to encourage them and build them up and give them self-worth and confidence. Many of these children come to us and they've already been told, you're stupid, you can't learn, you're slow, you're lazy. And we feel like all of these children have the ability. They lack the self-confidence. And so we bring them into a healthy environment here at the Lighthouse School. We love them, we encourage them, we teach them, and we see that they're not only their academics, but their behavior and their whole outlook begins to change.
Now you're visiting Gaza at the moment, and in the past you've lived in Gaza. Is it tough for Westerners to live in Gaza?
There are some difficulties, we lived here for 3 years with our children. It was 2004 to 2007. In terms of the danger, we were very well received in our community, in our neighborhood, and here at the school. There was no danger in terms of that. There was the issues of the Israelis and Palestinians fighting between each other and maybe getting caught in the crossfire. But the travel restrictions and the border closures and the need for permits, all of that makes it difficult to come and then to stay in Gaza. But in terms of Gaza being violent and being very dangerous for a foreigner or for anybody else, it really isn't. It's very secure on the streets. We're able to travel freely once in Gaza, and those aren't the issues. The issues have more to do with crossing the borders and getting the necessary permits.
What's your prayer finally for the children of Gaza?
Our prayer is that these children will be able to experience a normal childhood, and they'll be able to grow up without the violence and a healthy atmosphere and a healthy environment, get a good education and enjoy their childhood and become productive citizens. That's our prayer. And we only have a handful of children. There's only 215 kids at Menara School, and there's over 500,000 school-age children in Gaza. So we have a handful. But our prayer is we can take the little that God has given us, and we can sow into their lives and love them, care for them, educate them, encourage them, and they can go out and then hopefully change their community and change Gaza for the better. So we have hope for Gaza. I know a lot of people look at Gaza and they think it's a hopeless situation. We believe God gives us hope. There's always hope. And we will continue to share his love and invest in these children for the future of Palestine.
And you have a website for those who would like to know more about your work. What's your website address?
Yeah, we do. It's lhsgaza.org. And it's more of a blog site where we update it with articles and pictures of the kids. So anybody could go to it and read the latest articles on what's happening at the school.
Well, John, thank you for joining us today from Gaza.
Wonderful. I enjoyed it. Thank you.